Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials on any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com.
We have multiple microservices. Yesterday we discussed about our application. We have booking service, routing service, for example. Let's assume that we have multiple instances of routing service, right? So what we want is, we want booking service to somehow know the details about all instances. So booking service should be able to discover the instances of routing service dynamically. So we need a discovery server and we will use Eureka as a discovery server. As I told you, Eureka is nothing but a REST API. REST API means what? There might be some REST controllers, right? I will show you the REST API operations of Eureka, but just assume that this Eureka is nothing but a REST API. And I want this Eureka to run inside a Tomcat. Okay, so yesterday or before that, I have already discussed that there's a module called as Spring Cloud, which is of course on top of Springboot. All the microservice related projects are under Spring Cloud, and under that umbrella project, we have Spring Cloud Eureka, we have Spring Cloud Ribbon, Spring Cloud Historics, all that modules, right? So Spring Cloud modules all are developed on top of Boot. Now, to start a Eureka server, what all I need to do is, if I have to write an application to start Eureka server, what all I have to do is, in my pom.xml, suppose if I'm adding using Maven, in my pom.xml, I need to add Eureka as dependency. That's all. All the auto configurations of Eureka will take care of registering all the beans, all the REST controllers, etc. And then Eureka will start. Let me show you step by step how to start Eureka. And once you see Eureka running, I'll go to internals and I'll explain how this auto configurations work. So here I'm using a Eureka start project. Actually, I'll be showing you start projects, but if you want to create a new project, it's very easy. You have to just go to file, new, Spring starter project, give some name, let's say my Eureka. Next, and here I will search for Eureka. See, once I search under Spring Cloud Discovery, there is one Eureka server and Eureka Discovery client. So now, since I want to build Eureka server, I will select Eureka server and then take all the defaults and finish. So this will create a Eureka project. So let me just show you here. This is a Maven project. So if you see pom.xml firstly, you can see the boot version which it is using is 2.4.2, and there is a dependency management section where Spring Cloud dependencies has been added, and Spring Cloud version they have mentioned as 20.0.1. This is the latest one, and a dependency called as Spring Cloud Starter Netflix Eureka server. This is added. This is a starter project. That's all. Then I'll show you rest of the things. So this is how I created a project already. Here is a start project which contains same. Let me show you. Here is my pom.xml. Here you can see I have already added Spring Cloud Starter Netflix Eureka server, right? Then I have a class here. It's a Springboot application. I will just enable Eureka server. That's all I am doing it. Now I want you to see here in pom.xml, already I have added Netflix Eureka server, right? If I go to dependency hierarchy, you can see these are all the dependencies automatically which got added when I added Netflix Eureka server, right? So let me search for Tomcat. Is this Tomcat? Yes. Actually, Spring Cloud Netflix Eureka server is internally using Spring Boot Starter Web, and it has a dependency of Tomcat. So if I just add Spring Cloud Starter Eureka server, automatically Tomcat dependencies are there. So auto configurations of Tomcat will automatically start Tomcat, right? And let me show you my YAML file. Just wait. Yeah. So here I gave server port as 5001. That means it's going to start on 5001. So let me start this start project and see what will happen. I didn't do anything. I just enabled Eureka server. Okay. So let me see the console. What will happen? You can see that it looks like starting. Oh, I got an exception. What is this exception? If you see connection refused exception, right? Okay. But even though I got an exception, here I got transport exception, cannot execute request on any known server. Even though I got an exception, it looks like Tomcat has started properly. The application didn't terminate. You can see it started Eureka application, right? So Tomcat looks like started. Let me just go and hit the UI of Tomcat, localhost. I gave the port 5001 in my YAML file. So if I hit, oh yeah, I'm able to see the dashboard of Eureka home. And you can see that there are no instances registered with Eureka. It looks like Eureka has started, but there are some exceptions. What are they? What is the reason for that exceptions? Let me just discuss conceptually first. Normally, whenever we are deploying microservices, we'll be deploying on cloud mostly, or maybe in your in-house data center. So forget about PCF for some time. Of course, if you are using PCF, once you push your application, if there are multiple instances, the containers will be distributed across the cells, and cell VMs are actually in multiple zones of a region. So if you are using PCF, PCF will take care. But for our understanding, let's assume that you are having your deployment in your own data center, deployment of your microservices in your own data center. Let's assume. So if you're having a single data center, and if your application instances are deployed in a single data center, what will happen if the data center crashes? Will you achieve high availability? No. So it is recommended that you distribute your instances across data centers. So let's assume that you have 3 data centers. If you distribute your application instances across data centers, then suppose if I have service 1, I'll start one instance of service 1 here, one instance of service 1 here, another instance here. So if I distribute my instances across data centers, even though if one data center goes down, my application is still highly available, right? But let's say you don't have 3 data centers. You have a single data center. Now, how to achieve high availability? Normally in data center, you'll be having racks where your servers will be kept. If you have gone to data center and seen, there will be racks, right? So let's assume that there are 3 racks in your single data center. If you plan your data center in such a way that each rack has a different power source, different source of power, electricity, and different network, different internet connection, etc. So we can treat each rack as an independent zone, right? Normally, in any of the cloud, we say each data center is one zone, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Each data center will be called as a zone. But if you're having a single data center, and if you plan in such a way that each rack of your data center has its own power source or network, etc. So we can call these racks as independent zones, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Now if you deploy your instances across all this zone, so it is a very rare scenario where all the power options go down and all the same networks go down, etc. So we can call this also as a highly available setup. Now for our entire discussion, I'm going to discuss saying I have 3 zones. Zones are logical. Actually, it can be either a data center can be zones, or if you're having a single data center, each rack inside your data center can also be logically treated as zones. How you actually define your zones, it's all based on your administrators, they will decide. But concept is you need to have multiple zones. Okay. Now let's assume that you have multiple zones. So I just represent zones like this. This is zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Okay. Now I want to start my Eureka. Where do I start? Let's assume that I started Eureka in zone 2. But now, is Eureka highly available? No. What if zone 2 crashes? So normally to achieve high availability of Eureka, we distribute our Eureka instances across zones. So let's assume that we have 3 Eurekas each in one zone. Right. Now the challenge. Let's assume that I want to deploy 5 instances of service 1. Maybe I decided, let's say, service 1 here, service 1, service 1, here 2 instances again. So 5 instances totally in all the zones distributed across all the zones. Right. Now, again, use your common sense and tell me.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
This service one, should it go and register with all the Eurekas? And this one should go and register with all the Eurekas? Will that make sense? Too much of network traffic. Okay, let's say registration is nothing but one call. Okay, if it is one call, that's okay. But after microservice registers with Eureka, it has to send heartbeats also to Eureka at regular intervals. So if all instances are sending heartbeats to all Eurekas, there will be too much of network traffic, which is not good. So service 1 in zone 1 should go and register with Eureka in zone 1. These two instances should go and register with Eureka in same zone, right? Now we have to configure a cluster of Eureka servers actually. These three should form a Eureka cluster. Again, in cluster, there are different types of clusters. These cluster should be a peer cluster. That means all Eurekas are equal. Now, when I say cluster, cluster is nothing but set of nodes, set of instances, which act as if it is one, right? Now, if I set up a Eureka cluster, this Eureka at regular intervals should go and fetch the registry of this Eureka and this Eureka. So what finally, if this Eureka, first Eureka is fetching the registries of both this Eureka, so in the registry of Eureka 1, how many instances of S1 will be there once it fetches? 5 instances. Similarly, second instance also will fetch the registries of other Eureka, so 5 instances, right? Now, suppose if there is service 2, if service 2 looks up this Eureka and asks, give me all instances of S1, will it get 1 instance or 5 instances? 5, right? The Eurekas in cluster has fetched the registries from other Eurekas, right? Okay. Normally, I said, whenever a service, microservice registers with Eureka, let me just draw a service 1 here. Let's assume that it is here only in zone 1. Now, I said whenever a service registers with Eureka, there will be a background thread here which will fetch the registry of Eureka at regular intervals, say 30 seconds, and keep a cache of registry. The cache of this registry is maintained inside the service instance. So whenever service 1 wants to call, let's say service 2 instances, it need not look up Eureka every time. It look up inside the inside cache and hit, right? So normally any client of Eureka should be able to fetch the registry. Any client should fetch the registry and cache it. What the client also should do, the client also should go and register with Eureka. Okay. These two things I want for a Eureka client to be done automatically, right? So for any Eureka client, I want these to be done. Actually, if we are using Springboot, what we did to start Eureka server, we just added Eureka server as a dependency in form.xml and we enabled Eureka server. So auto configurations of Eureka will create all the necessary beans, right? Similarly, can you guess if I have to write a microservice to register with Eureka, what all I need to do is I need to add a dependency of Eureka client. That's all. Boot will have auto configurations where it will fetch from registry and register with Eureka. We don't need to do anything, right? Later I'll be showing you the client part, how to write a client to register with Eureka. I'll show you in few minutes, right? So on client side, I don't need to write a single line of code. Of course, there is some configuration. Just adding discovery client or Eureka client dependency will actually create some auto configurations which will fetch the registry and cache it, register with Eureka, send heartbeats, etc. Right? Now, in this case, I want you to understand, Eureka, is it a server? Yes, of course. But is it also acting as a client to another Eureka if I'm creating a cluster? Yes. Eureka server also is a client to another Eureka when I configure it as a cluster. I want you to observe one interesting thing here. In form.xml, what all dependencies I added only one dependency, Eureka server dependency. If I go to dependency hierarchy, just observe here, I have added server, right? I have added Netflix Eureka server. Do you see there is, oh, just wait. Do you see here? Oh, wait. Confusing. Yeah, here is Eureka server. It's automatically expanding. Okay, let me just show you. I wanted you to see. I will search for, oh, let me actually stop this. It's still generating exceptions. Okay, now I'll maximize it. I want you to see client. I'll search for client. See here, once I added Netflix Eureka server, it is internally using Netflix Eureka server. And here is Netflix Eureka client. So as I told you, server also is a client. Once I add Eureka server, client dependencies are also there, because every Eureka server also is a client. So as you know, Springboot uses auto configurations. So that is the reason why if I configure a cluster, this Eureka, first Eureka will act as a client to other Eureka, fetch the registry, right? But right now what I did, I started a single Eureka. Later I'll show you cluster. Right now in my code, I started single Eureka and the port is 5001. By default, the default port of Eureka is 8761, the default port. So this Eureka will assume that there is one more Eureka at 8761 and it will try to fetch the registry of this Eureka by default. But is there any Eureka running on 8761? No, right? So this call will fail. That is the reason why you are seeing this exceptions once I start the application. Now, I need to tell to my Eureka, hey Eureka, you're alone. You're not part of a peer cluster. There is no other Eureka running on 8761. Don't try to fetch the registries and don't try to register with other Eureka. So we have to configure that. Now I'll go to my YAML file and here I will write Eureka. I'll just type here fetch registry. Let us see whether it will give me help or not. Fetch I typed Eureka.client.fetch registry. It's a boolean. By default it is true, and I want to make it as false. I'm saying, hey, don't fetch the registries of other Eurekas and register with Eureka as false. These are the two things I need to write. Right? So now let me restart Eureka. Let's observe the console. Yes, Tomcat started on port 5001, and you are not seeing any exceptions. Earlier, right? No exceptions. So if I see Eureka UI, yeah, still I should get the same or similar UI. So Eureka server is started. Yeah, any doubts why I configured this, all the concepts, let me know. We are able to start Eureka server. I'll show you some more configurations, but till this point, is there any query? Let me know.
So how do you
Yeah,
specify?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Arjun.
tell me.
Okay, so how do you specify a data center, and how do you split that? Like, how do you mention like to deploy in different data centers, like different zones?
Different zones that I'm going to show you just now. In some time, I will create a cluster also. So
Okay.
there I will show you how to tell all that information, how to configure all that information. Yes, I'm going to show you that next.
Okay.
But
So
right
before
now,
we move on to that, Shiva, so the lines you highlighted, right? This is to override the default port in which Eureka gets started. That's all it does do.
sorry, this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't
So
get.
registry, you made it registry false, right? Is this to override the default port
Not
in
the
which the
port.
Eureka gets
Why did-
started? Or
No.
what do you
Why?
mean by registry here?
Yeah. See, every Eureka will be maintaining its own registry where
Okay.
it contains about all the registries, right? So by default,
Right.
this Eureka will assume that there's one more Eureka on 8761, and it will try to fetch its registry, feeling that already it is in a cluster. But there is no such Eureka on 8761, right? So I need to tell to this Eureka, you are not in a cluster. You are alone. Never try to fetch the registries of other Eurekas or register with them. See, we need that those to be true in case of a cluster. I'm going to show you next scenario where in a cluster, this Eureka should fetch the registries of other Eureka. This should fetch the registries of other Eurekas, right? So in a cluster, that should be true. But when it is a single node Eureka, we need to tell this as false. Don't fetch registry, don't register with any other Eureka.
Does that mean other Eureka servers should get started on 8761 to make a cluster?
There is no such Eureka, right? Suppose if there is one
No,
more
no,
Eureka.
no. When you have a cluster, I mean.
When I have a cluster, yes. Maybe I can run this on 5001, this on 5002, this on 5003. There's a configuration where you need to tell about all the nodes in a cluster on which ports they're running. Right, of course, you can use default ports 8761 also, but it's up to our configurations. I'll show you. Okay.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
So, is your question? Can you, maybe if your question is still not answered, let me know.
Now we'll see once you, once you do the clustering, right? Probably
Yes,
that
yes.
will give more clarity.
Yeah, I will show you the cluster. Now Eureka has been started. So before I show you the cluster, let me register one microservice with Eureka and see how it goes, actually how internally Eureka works. So before I move on to clustering of Eureka, see here, this is my booking application yesterday which I used. I'm going to make it to register with Eureka. So the code is same like yesterday. I'm not going to touch the code, even though you didn't work on this yesterday. I'll just tell you where you need to modify so that it will go and register with Eureka. Code is same like yesterday, but with some small modifications. So firstly, in pom.xml, if I want this application to be a client to Eureka, what I need to do is I need to add this dependency. Spring Cloud Starter Netflix Eureka client. Earlier for server, I added server dependency. For client, I need to add it. Other dependencies and other code is same. This is extra thing which I did. Then what I need to do is in my configuration class, yeah, I need to write an annotation called as enable discovery client. This is extra annotation. Okay. Then I need to tell to my client where is Eureka, right? Whether there is single Eureka or multiple Eurekas, I need to tell. So what I need to do is in my YAML file, I need to configure that information. So Eureka dot their properties related to client. Eureka dot client dot 1 minute spelling mistake. Eureka dot client dot. There are a lot of client properties here. What I'll do is I'll go to Eureka dot client dot service URL. There is one thing called a service URL. If you see the description, it is saying map of availability zone to list of fully qualified URLs to communicate with Eureka server. Each value can be a single URL or comma separated list of alternate locations. So I'm going to configure spring.client.service URL. Now, if I have multiple Eurekas in different zones like this, if this is my setup, I need to tell, let's say zone 1, like I have to give zone 1. And here I need to give the URL of Eureka in zone 1, http:// let's say localhost :5001/Eureka. 5001 is the port which I gave in my Eureka server. Actually, if you see, when I gave localhost 5001, I got the web UI. Web UI, the base URL for web UI is /. But as I told you, Eureka is a REST API. So for all the REST APIs, the base URL is /Eureka. Okay. Now, suppose if I have zone 2, zone 3 Eurekas, I just have to write zone 2 http:// whatever. Maybe in zone 2, let's say it is on a different port 5002, and zone 3. Actually, I need to have a predefined zones. Zones cannot be dynamic. During my deployment time itself, I need to decide how my deployment is going to be, whether I have 3 zones or 2 zones or how many zones, right? So I need to configure. So I am telling to my client. Client means in this case microservice. Hey, these are all the 3 Eurekas in three zones, right? And then I need to tell this. Let me stop this Eureka first. Later I'll start. Okay. I need to also tell to this instance in which zone it is going to be. Eureka dot instance dot zone instance dot okay region, sorry, Eureka dot instance dot metadata map, actually instance dot metadata. Any information related to Eureka instance can be kept inside metadata map dot zone. I need to write, let's say zone 1. Suppose if I'm going to deploy this instance in zone 1, this value should be zone 1. So this is how it should know the zone into which it is getting deployed. But I should not hard code in my YAML, right? Because if I want to deploy 5 instances of S1, I'll be having single jar, right? S1.jar with my code. So same jar I'm going to run in multiple zones, right? At deployment time only we will know in which zone we are going to deploy. So we should not hard code this information in my YAML. Okay. This has to be passed at runtime during deployment. So hope you know how to pass configuration properties at runtime for a boot application. Normally, if you want to run a boot application from command line, how do you do? Java hyphen jar, the jar name, let's say s1.jar. And if you want to pass any command line arguments for properties, you use dash dash key is equals to value, dash dash key2 is equals to value 2. So like that you can pass any properties dynamically. So whatever property I'm showing you here, instance.metadata-map.zone information, that should be passed at deployment time. Maybe in your deployment script, right? So every instance knows during runtime, it knows into which zone it is going. It will go and register with the corresponding Eureka only, right? So that is the case that is a scenario where in case I'm having more than one Eureka. But if I don't have more than one Eureka, later I'll show you the cluster configuration where I'll configure all the zones and all. But right now I am having single Eureka, right? So if you're having single Eureka and if you don't have any zones, you just have to say default zone. So this is how we need to configure the client to tell about our Eureka. So that's it. What all I did, step 1 is I added Eureka client as dependency. Step 2 is I enabled discovery client. Actually, there is one annotation called as enable Eureka client. Okay, I'll tell you the difference between Eureka client and discovery client. But right now I wrote enable Eureka client. This is step 2. And step 3 is I told about this one. Now, with what name? Once I start my microservice, it should go and register with Eureka, right? With what name it will go and register? I have to write a key called as spring.application.name. I gave booking-service, right? So it will go and register with that name, right? So now let me just run this Eureka first. Then I'll run my booking application. Let us see what will happen. So both are starting, just wait. Yes, it looks like both have been started. Okay, both have been started. You can see the consoles. Both have been started. Now let me just go and see the Eureka UI at 5001. You can see that there is one service with the name booking service and one instance, right? Whatever you are seeing is the instance ID, right? So there's one instance registered with name booking dash service. Now, what if I run one more instance? With what name it will go and register? With same name, is it? So how do you differentiate multiple instances? So there should be some way to differentiate multiple instances, right? I need to write a property Eureka dot instance ID. So this is how it will differentiate. Okay, Eureka dot instance ID. I have to give some unique instance ID for each instance. So what I'll do is I will take this name spring.application.name. So if I want to refer to it, I'll use $spring.application.name colon. I'll use again $random dot value. This is an expression which will actually generate random value. So this will be a random instance ID. Now let me stop this existing one. Okay, let me ask you before I restart. If I stop this S1, what will happen? Will it immediately go and deregister with Eureka, or it will take some time? See, this is my Eureka and this is my booking service. Assume that it got registered with Eureka with some name. Once it registers with Eureka at regular intervals, the background thread will keep a cache of registry here. And at regular intervals, it will be sending heartbeats also, right? So if this is crashed due to some reasons, Eureka will not receive heartbeats. It will identify that the service is down. And it has to remove that information from the registry, right? So just because one heartbeat is missing, do you want Eureka to remove it from registry? No. So if 3 consecutive heartbeats are missing, then only actually Eureka will remove it from the registry. What is the heartbeat interval? By default, it is actually 30 seconds. We'll change it. I'll show you the configuration to change. 30 seconds. That means 3 consecutive heartbeats means what? 90 seconds, until 90 seconds.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Even though this booking service is crashed until 90 seconds, the Eureka should keep that information in registry. That is the default configuration, right? So if I kill my booking service until next 90 seconds, I should still see this booking service in its registry, right? Let us see what will happen. I'll kill this. Let us wait until it shows a status as stopped. Okay, stopped. Now immediately I'll go to Eureka and refresh. Oh, it is not 90 seconds. Even before 90 seconds, it is gone. According to the theory, whatever I told you, the Eureka should wait for 90 seconds and then only it should remove, but in this case it removed immediately. So why? Right? So let us try to understand. I'll show you once more. Let me start. But now before I start, I have updated this with instance ID. Now I'm in Springboot dashboard. I want to start two instances of same application. Here the port number which I gave is 8081. Maybe if I want to start one more instance of booking service, maybe the port will be different. Port configuration may be something else. Then two instances can start on my same machine, right? So in Spring Toolsuite, if you are using Spring Boot dashboard, if you want to run the same application using two different configurations, what you can do is you can right click on this and say duplicate the configuration. Now you can see there are two configurations, right? So now I'll right click on the first one, open config, and here I'll give the name. I'll rename it to booking 1. All right. And if I want to pass any command line arguments, I can pass it in the arguments tab, or I can say -- server dot port is equals to 8081. That is default anyway. Copy it. Okay. Now I'll apply and close. Now you can see this is a configuration booking 1 8081. So now I'll again edit open config. I will rename this as booking 2, and in the arguments I'll pass instead of 8081 I'll pass 9091. I'm overriding it. Okay, apply. So now there are two configurations, booking 1 and booking 2. I want to start 2. So I'll right click on the top and say start. So now two instances of my booking service will start, one at port 8081 and another at port 9091. Let us see until it starts. Wait, two instances are getting started. Let's wait. Okay, it's almost done. Now if I refresh, again I'll refresh. Yes, it took some time, but see here, there are two instances of same service here, 1 and 2. What is its ID? Same as the application name, colon some random value. I generated some random value. Two instances got registered. One is running at 8081, another is running at 9091. Two instances got registered with same name. All right. So now I need to tell what if I kill this instance, right? If I stop one of the instance, according to my theory, it should wait for 90 seconds. But now I can see there's only one. Other one got deregistered. So why? Tell me with your knowledge, in a Java program, before the JVM instance shuts down, I want to execute some logic. How is it possible? Shutdown hook, right? We can register a shutdown hook with JVM in our code. So whenever JVM is shutting down, that shutdown hook will execute. So actually in Eureka client, there is a shutdown hook already. What it will do is it will send a delete request to Eureka. When I kill it, shutdown hook will be executed. It will send a delete request to Eureka. As I said, Eureka is a REST API. And registration is nothing but a post call where the instance will post some details, and deregistration is nothing but a delete call, HTTP delete call. So just shutdown hook of my booking service will make a delete call and it will deregister itself with Eureka. But you may ask me, hey, when is the scenario where it will wait for 90 seconds or 30 seconds? The scenario is, let's say the machine on which it is running, on which this instance is running, has crashed suddenly, or maybe the network is down between these two instances. In that cases, Eureka will not be getting heartbeats for 90 seconds. Then it will deregister. We cannot simulate it, right? In our scenario, because the entire machine has to go down. I just killed my application. Killed means shutdown hook will be executed, it will deregister. That's correct behavior, right? So now we understood that Eureka is the REST API. Registration is nothing but a REST call, right? So now let me stop this one also. I wanted you to observe how my microservice is registering with Eureka, what is the REST API call it is making, how the heartbeats are getting sent, everything, right? So just to show you, in Spring Toolsuite, there is a tool called as TCP IP monitor to monitor the TCP traffic. Just for showing you, to make you understand, I'll show you. Window, show view, and here I'll go to other. Now search for TCP IP monitor. Okay. So TCP IP monitor, I opened it. This is the one. Right click, properties. Is there something I'll remove it? Okay. So now I'll click on add. I want my TCP monitor to listen on port 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever request this TCP monitor gets on 1, 2, 3, 4, I want to forward it to localhost 5001 at which my Eureka is running. So I configured and I'll start. So what? TCP monitor started on port 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever it gets on 1, 2, 3, 4 to forward to 5001 at which my Eureka is running, right? So now I'll go here to my Eureka client. Instead of mentioning port as 5001, I'll mention it as 1, 2, 3, 4. So whenever my client is sending a request, it will send to 1, 2, 3, 4 where TCP monitor is listening, and TCP IP monitor will send it to 5001. Anyway, it will reach Eureka. Just for testing purpose, I mentioned it. So to be very clear, I'll restart my Eureka. And also I will start first instance of booking. Let it start. Only one instance I started. I want you to observe the traffic. Let them start. Okay, Eureka started at 5001. Booking is starting. Yes. So on the console of booking application, let us see. So this is the booking one console. Here you can see discovery client logs where it says registration status is 204 success. It registered. Now let us go to TCP IP monitor here. Hey, in TCP IP monitor, I can see the calls going through. Okay, this one REST API call, this another REST API call, this another. So a lot of REST API calls. Let me explain you each step by step. Let me wait for 30 more seconds to actually see some more requests. Then I will stop all of them. 30 more seconds. Yes. So now what I'll do is I'll stop this booking. Then I'll go and tell you what this TCP monitor is having. Let me just wait for another 30 seconds so that I can show you once more. 30 seconds. I should see one more, then I'll stop it. Yeah. Now I will stop this booking. Stop. Okay, let us see what are all the steps that happen. During the startup of my microservice, first step, what it has done during the startup, it has made a request to /Eureka/apps. And it got a response 200 from Eureka. It says, this is my registry. How many applications are there in the registry? It's an array, empty array, right? So initially my Eureka was not having anything. It has sent empty array, right? So initially, as I said, when my microservice starts, it will try to fetch the registry, existing registry. That is the one. Then after that, here is one more call, post request to /Eureka/apps/booking service. And this is the data JSON. Let me copy this JSON. I'll just open it in Notepad. Yes. So here it is. This is the JSON which the client is posting. Here you can see instance ID. Hey, it's saying my instance ID is this one. My host name is this one. My name is this one. ID, IP address, status equals to up, port 8081, secure port, all this information, right? So this is nothing but registration request. This is the registration request. So as I told you, Eureka is the REST API. Client will make a registration. This is the registration request. It's a post request. Then, can you guess? Actually, this is at what time? 1 minute. The second request went at 815 milliseconds. And again here 35 milliseconds. That means after 30 seconds there was one more request. What is this now? Put request to this URL where it's saying something like status equals to up and last dirty timestamp, etc. Right? So can you guess what is this? It's saying my status is up, I'm up. It's a heartbeat. And recognize this time 8:1:35. After 30 seconds, one more heartbeat request. 8 to 5, 30 seconds, there is one more request, right? That means every 30 seconds it is sending the heartbeats. And then in between here, the first time when it made a request to /apps.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.